Does copper prevent varicose veins and hair turning white? So it's a good question, Mark. Does it prevent varicose veins? It certainly can help with varicosities, again, provided that you have a copper deficiency and that's what's creating or contributing to your issue. But in and of itself, if a person just has varicosities, you can have varicosities for a number of different reasons. You could have, for example, low levels of vitamin C can contribute to varicosities, and so copper by itself may not correct that. And as far as hair turning white, is that going to potentially reverse the discoloration of hair? In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. Depends on how long that deficiency's been there and how much white hair is developed. But I wouldn't say that everybody with gray hair should run out and megadose copper and expect to see their youthful hair and exuberance return overnight. So Lane says, I was taking high-dose vitamin C because of COVID, and now I've been getting hand tremors, and my reflexes are really messed up. Did I deplete copper? Probably didn't deplete copper per se from taking the vitamin C. You might have created an imbalance where vitamin C and copper work together. Copper drives an enzyme that oxidizes or breaks down vitamin C, and this actually helps your body make dopamine. And what I hear you saying is you develop some tremors. So the copper or the vitamin C excess might have depleted your copper in that regard, meaning your copper is trying to keep up with that, and so you ended up with some potential there. That is a possibility, but it also may have nothing to do with that. I would say if you're having those types of major symptoms, you definitely want to get with your doc and get it checked out. Let's see, should we take a copper supplement? What other minerals help with the myelin sheath? Lots of nutrients help with the myelin sheath. Probably three of the most important really would be vitamin D, copper, and vitamin B12. So if you're trying to support nutritionally your myelin sheath, those three come to the top of the list of importance. Can we take zinc and copper together, or do we need to wait a certain time? How much copper is recommended daily? So, 1 to 2 milligrams of copper a day is adequate if you're getting that in. Can you take zinc and copper together without it creating a problem? You can. You remember, we're generally in nature where zinc occurs, so too does copper, so they're not in a vacuum. So if you've got a supplement that contains them both, that's perfectly fine. Or if you're taking two separate supplements, you can take them at the same time, and that should be okay in terms of your absorption. Let's see. My son suffered a bad accident and now has a spinal cord injury. He does not want to take pain meds anymore to manage pain. He drinks Kratom on a daily basis. He gets a lot of spasms too. I'm sorry, Stefan. Yeah, I don't see the question in that. Okay, here it is. We wonder if there are anything that we should worry about if he drinks a lot of Kratom. I think the biggest thing is if he's got a spinal cord injury, you need to get him to somebody who's an expert in nutrition so that you can support him the best that you can. Because a lot of times these injuries, they don't heal, they don't respond, they don't do as well when a person's malnourished. You used to see it all the time in the hospital setting, in the VA hospital. People would come in that didn't respond to the surgeries because why? Because they were so malnourished, their bodies wouldn't heal afterwards. Remember, surgeries are scheduled traumas. This is where your son wasn't necessarily a scheduled trauma, it was an accidental trauma, but I would definitely want to look at his nutritional status if I were his doctor, and that's what I would suggest that you ask his doctor to do. Can I explain how a 24-hour urine collection test helps detect low copper? 24-hour urine collection is not going to help to detect low copper. It's going to help to detect whether or not low copper was present during that 24-hour time span. But all in and of itself, by itself, I don't recommend looking at urine to analyze copper. It's just not the best medium. Some people also do hair testing to look at copper, and a hair test is not a great medium to assess copper status in the body. Let's see. Can the use of a mask cause numbness around the mouth area and lips. Yeah, I mean, you're causing, this is not a show about masks, but the biggest problem with masks is hypoxia. Hypoxia meaning low levels of oxygen. And with low levels of oxygen come numbness in your tissues, because you need oxygen for your nerves to properly work and communicate back to your brain. But one of the other problems with a lot of these masks is they contain fluoride substances called PFAS, perfluoroalkyl substances, that can cause immunosuppression and increase the risk for the development of infection. It's kind of the joke's on you if you're wearing one of those medical masks that are sprayed with fluoral agents. So if you're going to wear one, again, it's up to you whether you want to wear one or not. It's up to you how you feel, but wear a cloth one that doesn't contain toxic compounds that you're breathing in for hours on end. As far as copper toxicity, can toxicity be reversed? I'm not sure if I understand this question. So can toxicity be reversed? Oh, ototoxicity. Can ototoxicity, this is ear toxicity, be reversed as a result of past use of prednisone and antidepressants, painkillers, etc.? Yeah, I mean, your body can heal. It depends on how long you were using them, and it depends on what else might be contributing to that toxicity. But tinnitus is very common outcome of ototoxicity, and one of the reasons that can happen is demyelinization. So if we're going to tie that into copper, again, go back and have your doc check your nutritional status, because one of the side effects of steroids, prednisone particularly, is it causes zinc and calcium and magnesium deficiencies and vitamin C deficiencies that all play a role in the healthy function of your nerves. Let's see. Oh, I don't see a question there. What makes a person not able to absorb nutrients out of their food? Donna wants to know. Probably the biggest thing is a GI tract dysfunction, and there are a lot of things that can contribute to a GI tract dysfunction. For example, let's talk about digestion in the first place. How do we digest? Well, digestion occurs in the mouth. It starts in the mouth. When you start chewing, that's a mechanical breakdown of your food, but you also secrete in your saliva, you secrete an enzyme that breaks down food as well. And then once the food hits your stomach, there's acid, there's intrinsic factor, there's proteases that are enzymes that degrade protein. And then once you go from your stomach to your intestine, there's elastase and amylase and lipase and other pancreatic enzymes that help you break your food down. There's bile acids that help you break down and absorb fat. So if you've got liver problems, gallbladder problems, if you have dry mouth like Sjogren's syndrome, if you've got autoimmune disease of the GI tract or gastritis, or again, disease like celiac disease or other inflammatory bowel problems, these are all things that can impact or affect your absorption. The other thing that impacts and affects the absorption, probably most commonly in the US, is medication use. Most medications that are used chronically today affect the way that we digest and absorb our food. If you want a more comprehensive breakdown of that, go check out, go over to glutenfreesociety.org. I did a complete comprehensive video and breakdown of drugs that affect gut function and can create malabsorption. But that's one of the top causes in the US. And even if you're not taking drugs, if you're drinking water that you're not filtering, and just to give you an example, in Houston, there's 42 prescription medications that have been identified in our drinking water after the city's done filtering it. You're getting drug exposure. You may not be taking drugs directly. You could be getting them indirectly from the water. You could be getting them indirectly from the animals that you eat. Can copper help with acne? Copper helps. So it's not, I wouldn't put copper at the top of the list of nutrients that are important for acne. If I were going to put nutrients at the top of the list for acne, one would be what you shouldn't eat, which is sugar or gluten or dairy. Like those three foods are major contributors to acne. But then beyond those, just cutting things out, vitamin A and zinc and vitamin E are very critical nutrients for the support of the skin health around acne. Can the masks cause acne? Yes. A lot of mask questions tonight. people are probably getting tired of wearing them. First of all, if they worked, we wouldn't see increasing cases of COVID. Second of all, they don't work. Tertiary, they cause oxygen suppression, and quaternary, they, in a big way, basically you're breathing in out your toxins into this breeding ground of a mask in front of your face. And so what happens is all the bacteria is accumulating in that mask. And as it accumulates, guess what one of the causes for acne is? It's excessive bacterial imbalance in the skin. So as you're wearing that mask over your face and that bacteria is now getting exposure to your skin, yes, it can increase the risk of the development for acne. We know that to be the case. There's been a number of studies showing that. So just one more reason that the benefit of the mask potentially is not better than the detriment that the mask creates. So I know this is not a show. I didn't really want to get into that topic tonight, but let's move on to the next question here. So high copper levels, what could be some reasons for high copper levels? That's a good question. Roxana wants to know that. She's asking that question. So high copper levels, again, genetic defects. So you ask your doctor for genetic testing. And one of the things you can rule out is Wilson's disease. Sometimes we'll see it if you have in your home, if you have copper pipes and they're old. So like if your infrastructure, not pipes, sorry. If your infrastructure in your home is old and there's erosion from that copper pipe into your water supply, this is where you can start getting elevations in copper. I've seen cases where people had copper toxicity from the infrastructure of their pipes. And then there's cookware as well. There's copper cookware. The older it gets, the more that copper breaks down into the food. And it could potentially be a problem if you're finding in your lab work that your copper levels are high. So if you've got, chronic copper levels that are high, rule out the genetic variants associated with copper toxicity. Copper pipes and cookware are other reasons why we might see copper elevations in that regard. Those are the big ones. I like this question. Does wearing a copper bracelet help with arthritis and for any part of the body? My father used to wear it to help with stiff joints. Yes, copper can. There's a lot of research that shows that copper can be very helpful for arthritis. And one of the suspected reasons as to why, the mechanism of action is not fully 100% understood, but copper has antibacterial properties. As a matter of fact, some people in their swimming pool, to reduce their chlorine, they'll use a combination of zinc and copper in their filter to reduce the need for the chlorine because they're worried about the chlorine creating damage. And it's because of the antibacterial property. So copper has an antibacterial property. We know with diseases like RA, sometimes there's a bacterial component. And so, for example, there's a type of bacteria that we commonly see, and many of you probably heard of Lyme. Lyme can cause a rheumatological type arthritis or rheumatoid type of arthritis. And so copper being antibacterial for many people provides some relief. So wearing copper bracelets, copper knee braces, or copper devices, wearable devices that have copper in them. But there's also an electrical component or an electrical charge to copper that some believe is where the benefit is. So that, again, there are different reasons why we suspect copper being helpful for arthritis, but those are the basic ones. Is drinking water from a quality copper cup a good thing? It's indifferent, Stan. It's not good. It's not necessarily bad. I would say if you've got copper toxicity, it's not a good thing. If you don't, it's not a bad thing. Again, copper cookware, copper cups, if you're not copper toxic, not a problem. And generally by themselves don't typically create massive copper toxicity. So Chris is posing, so that's why smoking causes low white counts, because it causes copper deficiency. It can. Remember that when you smoke, you get exposure to lead and cadmium and other minerals that can deplete copper and deplete the antioxidant status of the body, thus causing the body to burn through more of its own copper as a resource. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a plausible thought process. Let's keep going down on the left there. Okay, so question about copper toxicity. how can you deal with it? If you have a copper toxicity, what can you do to reduce your copper levels? And one of the best things that you can take for a copper toxicity is a substance called EDTA. EDTA is a binding agent. It's a chelating agent, and it can pull copper. Again, you wouldn't want to take EDTA indefinitely, and you definitely wouldn't want to really do it if you're not being supervised with a good doctor who can kind of keep tabs on your others, because EDTA doesn't just reduce copper toxicity. It can also deplete zinc, and it can deplete calcium and other minerals. So, but if you're faced with a toxicity leading to neurological problems and other major health issues, it's not a bad idea to use it in short terms. But again, I wouldn't recommend doing that without good supervision. Marianne is asking, the nutritional workup, you have your regular doctor or PC. Is it okay that it's a serum test, or does it need to be a specific lab? So again, going back to, it's very important that you use a technological methodology that's accurate, and that you're not just using something and giving yourself like a false sense of what actually is happening. You know, not all lab tests, unfortunately, are created equally as it comes to assessment of nutritional status. So this is where I would suggest, if your doctor's not an expert in nutrition, you know, I've said this before, you don't go to an electrician when you need plumbing work. Most doctors are not nutritional experts, so going to them to try to get them to become a nutritional expert at your whim is probably not going to happen. So the best thing you can do is find doctors who are nutritional experts, who've gone the extra mile, gone to postgraduate training, taken years and years of coursework to become, or to achieve a level of greater degree of mastery over the topic. Otherwise, you're going to a plumber to get electricity work done, and that's just not going to work out in your benefit. Yeah, I did. I said low copper contributes to prion disease. No, it's low copper. I think I answered that question already. Go back up just a little bit. Okay, keep going down, not a question. Does copper deficiency cause psoriasis? I've not seen that be the case. Now, I'm not going to rule it out and say that it can't, but my experience generally, if you're talking about a mineral depletion that can contribute to or enhance psoriasis, it's zinc. So I would, if I were, guessing at it, I would actually surmise the opposite. I would say copper deficiency probably not going to be the contributing factor so much to that problem as would the zinc deficiency. If someone has gray hair at 28, can it indicate copper deficiency? Yes, it can. It could also indicate B12 or B5 deficiency. It could also indicate high levels of stress, inadequate vitamin C, a number of different things it could indicate. Let's see. Keep going down. So a lot of you are so confused about copper. I see a number of comments about the confusion about copper, and it's because the reason there's confusion about copper is because copper is one of the few nutrients where there are known toxicities, and so with those toxicities, we can see diseases that look like copper deficiency, and so it can create overlap and somewhat confusion. And this is why it's so important that the proper testing is done to assess it, and not just go off on taking it just because you want to take more. Let's see, keep going down. Let's see. Well, that's not EDTA. Can you get EDTA in creams and shampoos? It can be, but EDTA is also an oral supplement that can bind toxic metals and help you pull them out in your urine and sweat. Kathy, if I'm taking a multivitamin with 3 milligrams of copper and taking 30 milligrams of zinc, is the balance out of balance? No, that would be fine. And even if you weren't even if you weren't taking the multivitamin, you'd probably be okay on that amount of zinc without creating a major copper issue long term. But it's good that you are taking a multi. Again, if you're eating a really good and balanced diet, if you're following the no grain, no pain style of diet, you're getting plenty of those copper-rich containing foods. You're not like what we talked about tonight, where the average American, where their baseline of food is 50% of their need for copper. If you're eating the no grain, no pain protocol, you're getting copper in your diet. So I would say if you're supplementing with higher levels of zinc, you still probably don't have a whole heck of a lot to worry about. I've been testing people's copper level for 20 years now, and it does happen. I do see copper deficiency. It isn't infrequent. It's not uncommon, but it's not the most common deficiency either. Can copper help prevent aneurysms? It can help with free radical quenching. And so in that regard, if we look at what is one of the risk factors for the development of an aneurysm, it's oxidative stress. So copper, being very important as a free radical quencher, can help your body deal with oxidative stress. Now, does that mean going and taking high doses of copper is going to guarantee that nobody has an aneurysm? No, I don't think we can make that claim. I don't think there's enough research to show that's a correlation. Okay, I've heard of or read another question on copper and aneurysms. So I've heard or read a study on copper deficiency linked to aneurysms. Does this have to do with the makeup or strength of the veins and arteries? Yes. So going back to collagen, what is an aneurysm but a disrupted, a weakened vascular area where the lining of the vessel itself becomes compromised? So again, copper is very important for that. Copper is important for the collagen formation so that the collagen is elastic and strong. So is vitamin C. It's also important in that component. So our bioflavonoids are very important in that strength of your collagen. So maybe you guys have heard me talk about quercetin or Ultra Q. Those are also important for that as well. But yes, hopefully that answers the question on copper. If you can't, so what can one do for an inability to detox copper? If you're talking about copper toxicity, I just mentioned EDTA as a chelating or a binding agent to help your body pull copper. But if you're going to do that, again, do that under medical supervision. Let's see. I like this one. I'm 33, been on the no grain, no pain diet for 3 months. No more pain. I feel great and will continue the no grain lifestyle. High five, man. High five. Good job. Can nutritional testing be done in Canada? Yes, it absolutely can be, Kathy. It absolutely can. Okay, I think we're out of time. We're right up on the hour. We've got questions haven't stopped coming in, so we need to wrap it up though. Look, guys, if you're new to the Pick Dr. Osborne's Brain Show, make sure you write it on your calendar. We're here every Monday night, barring holidays and vacations, at 6 p.m. That's Central Standard Time, to help take your toughest nutritional questions. So mark your calendar every Monday night. And if you want to get notified when we go live, then make sure you come visit me at glutenfreesociety.org and sign up for our newsletter there. It's the world's largest. We've got hundreds of thousands of subscribers on our newsletter, and it's all about the grain-free, gluten-free lifestyle. So if you want to learn more about how that diet change can help you, come check out our newsletter. We'll send you a bunch of free gifts and a gluten-free survival guide to go along with that. And also, I want to just mention, those of you who aren't aware, I just finished up a 14-hour class that I've been working on as a passion project on going gluten-free. So it's 14 hours. You didn't know that there was that much solid information in science about going on the gluten-free diet. Well, there is, and we've put it together for you. I've put that class together for you in 10 modules, easy to understand modules, and I'm actually going to be giving it away for free. So those of you who would like to get access to that class, if you want to get access to that class, you've got to be on my newsletter. I'm not giving it away to the general public. If you subscribe to our newsletter, that class is coming out in February, and we'll give it to you, 14 hours, based on 20 years of experience working with people. So If you'd like to get that information, make sure you go over and visit me at glutenfreesociety.org and sign up for our newsletter. And if you're not subscribed to our channel here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Look, the more ways that you have to connect with me, the less censorship we have to worry about. Doctors like myself are being censored right now. If you are a fan, you know I've already been censored by YouTube, by Facebook. We haven't been shut down yet, but we've been warned, and don't know how long we're going to be allowed and invited to these platforms. So if you don't want to lose contact and connection with me, make sure, the number one thing you can do is make sure you're on my newsletter, because as of this moment, nobody can interfere with me emailing people who want to receive that information. So make sure you come check out our newsletter. Alrighty, we'll see you next Monday for another episode of Pick Dr. Osborne's Brain. Wishing you excellent health and an excellent week. Take care. Hey, if you've got a functional medicine or health question that you'd like me to answer for you, make sure you send me an email, glutenology@gmail.com, and we'll do our best to create a video answer just for you. Have a great day.